What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Easter is tomorrow. I hope you're preparing your hearts to meet with God, your stomach to receive a ton of food, copious amounts of chocolate, whatever you have planned tomorrow. I got a question for you. Where did Easter come from? And with all the extra stuff going on, the family, the plans, the eggs, the bunnies, all that, what are you going to do to keep Jesus at the center of it all? Where did Easter come from, and how are you going to keep Jesus at the center of it all? You know, Jesus once prayed for us in John 17 that we would be a people who are in the world, but not of the world. So what does that look like when you take a holiday like Easter that has so much to do with Jesus and all this extra stuff that's out there as well? What does it look like for us to keep Jesus at the center of all of it? Well, I want to help you out. See, Jesus was crucified during a Jewish celebration of Passover. Passover is when the Jewish people celebrate deliverance by God out of Egypt. And Jesus was celebrating the Passover meal with his disciples, where he took that meal and then he gave us communion, or the Lord's Supper, as if to say that he is our deliverer. And as Christianity spread in its early days, it took this Jewish celebration of Passover and continued to celebrate Jesus' death and resurrection in that season, that springtime season. And as Christianity spread from 12 scared guys to 2.2 billion Christians on planet Earth today, it encountered a lot of different cultures and customs. One of those cultures and customs was a goddess named Easter. And Easter is the goddess of fertility. It's like a Teutonic goddess. The people of that area were used to giving each other eggs as gifts. And as Christianity moved into those regions, and that celebration was about the same time as Passover, a lot of those customs and traditions got brought into the celebration of Jesus' death and resurrection. And there's been different movements over the years to try and push it away. In fact, the Puritans, when they first came over to the United States, or what is now the United States, they outlawed anything to do with the Easter goddess and said the only thing we're celebrating is Jesus' death and resurrection. And that worked until about the Civil War. And then thanks to people like Cadbury and their delicious chocolate eggs, Easter made a resurgence in the United States. So what do we do? You have all these things that have to do with Jesus that are really important, and then you have all these things that are just kind of fun, silly, goofy, that are out there that have pagan origins. What do you do to keep Jesus at the center of it all? Well, here's 3 things that you can do. And I apply these to my life in a lot of different areas. I got this list actually from a pastor named Mark Driscoll, and it's been so helpful in my life. I want to share it with you. And I apply this filter to my life anytime I'm feeling like there's a little tension between the man I want to be as I follow Jesus and the trend that I see in culture. And it's 3 R's. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to look for that which you have to reject. The things that you have to reject. There are some things in culture, there's some things even in this Easter celebration that are so anti-biblical and are against God's heart that you just have to reject it altogether. So for example, if somebody knocks on your door tomorrow and asks, hey, would you like to worship the false god Easter with me? That's something that you would reject. It's not God's heart for you. You don't need to go down that road. In culture, there's lots of things that we have to reject. An example of something that has no redeemable value would be like pornography. That's something that you should reject on every level. That's something that's not God's heart. It's backwards from what his will is for his people, and so we just reject it. Now, the second thing that you can do to keep Jesus the center of it all is you're going to look for the things that you can redeem. And this is where the tension comes in, because there's all sorts of things that I might look at as redeemable that you might think are something that we should reject, or maybe even vice versa. This is the difference between the parents who put their kids in the house on Halloween versus allowing their kids to go out and celebrate Halloween. What aspects of this holiday are redeemable versus what aspects of these should I reject? And I would never put my kind of opinion on yours, but I would encourage you to seek God for what it is that he would look at as redeemable things in your life. So for my church, we do an egg hunt because we think it's something that's redeemable. We know the origins of it. We know where that happens, but we also know it's a way for us to build a bridge to culture and to people and to have a whole lot of fun. And when you open up the eggs, there's going to be candy, Bible verses, toy crosses, tattoos of biblical figures. I know some of you, you're not stoked that we're giving away fake tattoos. Maybe that's another video for another time. But the reality is that there's things all around us that are redeemable. In my example of church, in my kind of little world, one of my favorite worship experiences ever is when our band played Say Something. That song that goes, say something, I'm giving up on you. that's not a song that was written for church circles. That's not a song that was written to God. It was just a song. But we redeemed it and we played it inside of a church context, and it was such a kind of a great way of connecting the dots between what we had studied in the Bible that day. It was hands down one of my favorite moments ever. It was what we were able to redeem. And then the third thing that you're going to do to keep Jesus at the center is you're going to look for the things that you should receive. There are some things that are so close to God's heart, you just receive it as it is 100%. And as Christians, what we have to do is we have to pause for a moment, and we really have to be intentional about receiving the right things. So let me give you a question that you can ask parents. If you're around the table or if you're not a parent, this is a great question to ask yourself just to make sure that Jesus is at the center. At some point tomorrow, you need to pause. And you need to remind yourself or to say out loud to your family, today we celebrate Jesus. We celebrate that he's conquered sin, he's conquered death, and he's conquered the grave. So how are you going to show Jesus you're thankful this year? Or what would you want to say to Jesus right now? You ask those types of questions at some point. It could be during lunch, it could be dinner, it could be before the ed con, after the ed con, whenever you can. You just pause and you say, Jesus, we're going to put you on center display right now. We want to ask this question because Easter's about you. We're celebrating you. So how can I say I'm thankful this year? And another great way of receiving Jesus is, of course, to make sure that you're in church tomorrow, that you're just putting him first and saying, God, I want to take some time to worship you. And if you don't have a church home, I'd love to invite you to come and check out TheCity.church. We meet downtown in San Marco area, 10:30 a.m. at Landon Middle School. The website is TheCity.church, and I would love to see you there as my VIP guest. All right, guys, happy Easter. Whatever you do, keep Jesus at the center of it all. Reject the right things. Find the things that you can redeem for a higher purpose, and let's receive Jesus open into our heart. Love you guys.